Constipation is a disorder in which a person defecates less than 3 times a week, has hard or dry stools, feels as if they had a plug in the rectum that prevented them from having a bowel movement. The evacuation process can be difficult or painful, may need help passing stool, such as using their hands to press on their abdomen or using a finger to remove stool from the rectum. And in the end, they may be left with the feeling that they haven't finished evacuating completely. Everyone has been constipated at some point, but in most cases, such a situation lasts a short time and doesn't represent a serious problem. However, when constipation persists for more than 3 months, it becomes a chronic condition that requires medical attention. To watch the Spanish version of this video, you can find a link in the description box. Let's take a brief look at the anatomy of the gastrointestinal system to better understand the subject. The gastrointestinal system is made up of a tube called the digestive tract, which extends from the mouth to the anus. Its functions are to digest food, absorb nutrients, and eliminate waste through defecation. The digestive tract is made up of mouth, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, and large intestine. Digestion begins by introducing food into the mouth, and by chewing it, the food bolus is formed. During swallowing, the tongue pushes the food into bolus, into the pharynx, and from there it passes into the esophagus. The esophagus is a tubular organ about 25 centimeters long, which through peristaltic movements leads the bolus of food from the pharynx to the stomach. When the bolus reaches the stomach, it mixes with gastric juice and turns into a semi-liquid mass called chyme. The chyme then passes into the small intestine, which is about 5 meters long. In the duodenum, which is the initial part of the small intestine, the chyme mixes with bile, pancreatic juice, and intestinal juice and is transformed into chyle. Nutrients from the chyle are absorbed in the rest of the small intestine. The small intestine ends at the ileocecal junction, from which the large intestine begins. The large intestine includes 4 segments, which are cecum, colon, rectum, and anus. The cecum is a small sac located below the ileocecal junction, and its lower end is the appendix. In the colon, which measures approximately 1 meter in length, the absorption of residual water from the chyle takes place and is transformed into feces. The rectum is a short tube whose function is to store feces. Finally, the anus is the hole that is located at the terminal end of the rectum and has a region formed by sphincters that control the excretion of feces. Well, constipation occurs when stool moves too slowly throughout the digestive tract or when it can't be eliminated effectively from the rectum, which can cause it to become hard and dry. The main complication of constipation is the development of hemorrhoids. Hemorrhoids are swollen veins in the anus and lower rectum, similar to varicose veins in the legs. They usually present with pain, itching, and bleeding. It's estimated that up to 50% of people have had an outbreak of hemorrhoids, as it's an environmental and hereditary disease that worsens with constipation. Hemorrhoids are classified into 4 grades. Grade 1 are located in the submucosal tissue on the pectineal or dentate line of the anal canal. Grade 2 ones protrude from the anus when defecating, but re-enter spontaneously when straining stops. Grade 3 ones came out from the anus during defecation and must be reintroduced manually by the patient, and those of grade 4 are always outside the anus. The first 2 are resolved by solving constipation. The last 2 require surgical intervention for resolution. To resolve constipation naturally, it should be consumed daily in addition to the usual foods. 1. A cup of hot water on an empty stomach, alone or with ginger, dandelion, or parsley. This activates intestinal peristalsis. In addition, in the course of 24 hours a day, 2 to 3 liters of liquid should be consumed, where plain water, juices, smoothies, and meal broths count. 2. A tablespoon of olive oil, which makes food slippery and activates the action of bile salts and thus intestinal peristalsis. Olive oil can be taken directly, but it can also be applied to bread, put in a salad, etc. 3. A tablespoon of wet bran, which can be taken with water, milk, or fruit juice, or mixed in yogurt or mashed vegetables, for example. 4. One of the following fruits: kiwi, orange, tangerine, apple, or 30 grams of dried fruits, for example, prunes. Orange and tangerines should be peeled, but the segments should be eaten either chewed or blended into juice, but without removing the fiber. For its part, apples should be eaten with the skin but without seeds. Dietary fibers throw water into the intestine, which increases stool bulk and softens it. But importantly, it's absolutely necessary to drink enough fluids throughout the day, as indicated above. Otherwise, the fibers dry out and constipation worsens. And 5. Consume probiotics. One of the commercial products useful for this purpose is Synubrase, which contains Bacillus clausis spores indicated for diarrhea, intestinal gas, constipation, and inflammation, as well as for restoring the balance of the intestinal flora. Additionally, the intestinal rhythm must be regulated. This means getting into the habit of going to the bathroom at the same time each day, preferably in the morning. The intestine is training and finally creates a rhythm. In addition to training the intestine to evacuate in the morning, during the day, the defecation reflex must be respected. That is, when you feel like defecating, you have to go to the bathroom and do it, not letting the reflex pass you by. But beware, you shouldn't stay in the bathroom for a long time without defecating. The bathroom is not for talking on the phone, watching videos, etc. If you don't defecate in 3 minutes, you have to get up and leave it for a little later. You should also walk around daily at least 15 minutes. These exercises mobilize the intestines and promote peristalsis. Here's an example of a typical routine for one day to relieve a constipation. At the beginning of the day, get up and go to the bathroom to have a bowel movement and take a shower. Then have breakfast, which could consist of a cup of hot water alone or with ginger, dandelion, or parsley, a large cup of coffee alone or with milk, or a large glass of orange juice without straining, and wholemeal bread with a tablespoon of olive oil. At lunch, eat the usual foods, but mix a tablespoon of wet bran in one of them. Drink no less than 800 milliliters of liquid and eat a fruit for dessert, other than banana, as it's astringent. At night, you can have the usual dinner and then go for a walk for at least 15 minutes. This routine is just an example, but except for the cup of hot water in the morning, all the other ingredients to relieve constipation can be distributed throughout the day according to the dynamics of each person. And what about laxatives? Well, in addition to rigorously following the above instructions, constipation persists, you can take lactulose. This is a laxative derived from lactose, a non-absorbable sugar effective in combating chronic constipation. Lactulose comes as a liquid solution to take by mouth and comes in 2 forms: syrup bottle with 125, 250, or 500 milliliters, and box with 20 sachets, each containing 15 milliliters. The average recommended dose in adults is, at the start of the treatment, 15 milliliters of lactulose 2 to 3 times a day. Each 15 milliliters correspond to 10 grams of lactulose. After the start of the treatment, the laxative effect may take up to 48 hours. Once the effects of the laxative are obtained, the patient can gradually reduce the amount until the effective maintenance dose is found. The average maintenance dose is 15 to 30 milliliters of lactulose per day, administered in a single dose, preferably with breakfast. Lactulose can be diluted with water or another liquid such as tea, coffee, or orange juice. Lactulose is processed in the large intestine into substances that draw water from the body and carry it to the colon, which softens the stool and can be taken daily or when necessary without any health problem. And that's all for today. Say goodbye to constipation right now. See you in the next video. Good luck!